Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Brett Davis podcast, coming to you from cloudy, rainy, beautiful Coronado, California. It's an honor. I'm coming from IQ Podcast, of course. I have a person that I have much respect for, and she's an amazing chief of police in Chula Vista, and Chula Vista is very lucky to have her. As women out there that are seeking leadership roles, she's an amazing inspiration, and I'm not a woman, but she inspires me. It's Roxana Kennedy.
Well, wow, that was a very nice introduction, and I truly do appreciate that. I'm very excited to be here today, and I think the sun's poking in and out, so we're getting a little bit better in Chula Vista.
Well, I'm glad to hear that because Coronado's raining right now, so I'm glad.
Well, maybe we're next.
So the reason I've reached out to you is because I have a passion for our law enforcement, as you know, a lot of passion because it's a huge part of our country. And it's very important that our officers have the best of the best, I think, to do their jobs the best that they can. Don't you agree?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I feel exactly the way that you do. I am not a political person. I'm all about public safety. And right now, public safety is being left out. And that's a challenging situation. It's pretty upsetting to our law enforcement in San Diego County right now.
So for the audience is not aware, could you explain what we're talking about? Because I didn't really say what we were going to talk about, because I think it's good, kind of what's going on in the country right now.
Yeah, it's a strange situation to be in when you see that the vaccinations are coming out. And I mean, we've always considered ourselves to be first responders in law enforcement, and we've been the ones that have always responded to scenes quickly to get there to help the community when they need us most. And so to see that there were considerations made across the nation, but especially in San Diego County, that left law enforcement actually in the 5th tier. So when you listen to a lot of the discussion right now, the healthcare workers are receiving their vaccinations, which we 100% agree with. I need you to understand, my daughter is an ICU nurse in the COVID unit. My son is an EMT. So first responders should receive their vaccinations. And right now, also the healthcare workers out there are first responders. But what happened was EMTs, firefighters, paramedics, lifeguards, ski patrol, cannabis workers were all receiving their vaccinations in the 1st tier. So there's tier 1A, first phase. And so, we stood back and we were just trying to make sure that everybody received their vaccines. But then as it continued, law enforcement kept being pushed down to lower levels. And so it's controversial when you talk about this, because anyone who wants a vaccine, I understand that we want them to receive a vaccine. But my officers and all, the law enforcement officers in San Diego County, will use as an example, deputies and officers respond every day to emergency calls for service. They are usually the first ones to get in the scene, because oftentimes we have to go in there and clear the scene so that EMTs, paramedics, and firefighters can come into the scene. If there's been a shooting, they do not go into the scene first to get to the victims that are there. That is law enforcement that goes there. We provide CPR, first aid. We have to go through significant training through the police academy, and then every 2 years we have to follow up with mandatory training. So we're there. We carry Narcan with us for opioid overdoses. We can administer that. We carry tourniquets with us, which I could give you many examples of what we've done with those tourniquets to save people's lives. And then our supervisors carry AEDs in cars. So we've been perplexed by this discussion where I keep hearing science has dictated that law enforcement should be in lower tiers. So, Brett, it's honestly been a confusing situation for law enforcement.
So why would, not to say that I'm judging anybody here, but why would pot shops be able to get vaccines before police officers?
Well, I know what I heard the discussion was in regards to someone who may be, for instance, using marijuana for medical benefits or for PTSD, whatever the case is, which I'm not here to judge anyone's choice. It's legal, sure. And I just want it to be done in a way where we consider public safety all the time, right? So you go to a cannabis dispensary. You go in, you see what it is that you want, you pick it out, and then they'll wrap it up, give it to you, and you leave. So kind of similar the same way when you go to the grocery store. We go in there, we do some shopping, we pick things up, we go up to the counter, we pay for it, and we leave. Protection is in place with usually plexiglass and different things. We wear masks, we do all those precautions to be careful. Which I understand. I'm not going to discount that, but there's no medical service provided when you go to a dispensary. So we were honestly very confused why cannabis workers would be receiving vaccinations before law enforcement. I do believe that some of the pressure that was put on our county supervisors in regards to that decision did change. You used to be able to go into the 1A phase and click on other, and it would show you that it was cannabis workers. Now that link is gone. You can't see who they're giving it to under other. But my guess is it's gotten a little bit more difficult for them to justify the reasoning for cannabis workers. So, but, lifeguards, for example, play a very important role. When you need a lifeguard, you want them there. It's not to judge a lifeguard, but I do believe that law enforcement as a whole responds many more times to calls for service, providing CPR and first aid. So it's kind of an odd situation to try to determine. I understand it's hard for county supervisors. I understand this is a difficult time, but I truly believe that law enforcement is not being valued for the services that we provide. And it's much more than, people see law enforcement sometimes from the enforcement angle. They don't see law enforcement from all the great, amazing stories of them going out there and helping people in our community through the most difficult times of their lives.
Well, that lifeguards are very vital, but let's be realistic. I mean, I love lifeguards.
Mm-hmm.
You do a great service, but I mean, that job is more of a seasonal type job, even though we have year-round sun. Am I correct?
Well, I do think there are some lifeguards that do work year round, and there's always, I heard a tragic story the other day where the lifeguards responded to one of our local lakes where there was a body discovered. So they have an important job, and we're not trying to make anyone else's job less important than law enforcement, but we would just like to be placed in the right category for what the services that we provide. And so as I've heard some of the discussion, it's been like, well, law enforcement is trying to push the 65 and older out of the way so that they would take their vaccinations. And that's certainly not what law enforcement is trying to do. And I know, Brett, that law enforcement many of the men and women that wear this uniform are the first people to help someone get to the clinic, to get the vaccination. If someone needed it over them, they'd stand to the side and let them go first. And I know many of these people would take the shirt off their back. I mean, the stories that I could tell you of the amazing things that happen in law enforcement every day are many. And so I'm pretty passionate about it because I believe in law enforcement. I know what we do. I know what my officers are doing each and every day. No one's going to tell you we're perfect, but I'm telling you that they truly care about their community.
Well, like you said, most people would think that they're just there to give tickets and, there to take care of crimes. But it's almost like being a mother. There's so many different jobs that a law enforcement officer does do that the general population is not aware of. And a lot of community connection, and a lot of people they're constantly around. And do you think any of this, and again, I don't want to make this political because it just came to my mind. Do you think any of this has anything to do with a lot of the political groups that are around trying to defund the police in any way?
Well, I would hope that wouldn't be the case, Brett, but I'm really not certain how law enforcement could be overlooked in the sense of being placed in the 5th phase instead of in first or the 2nd phase. So, I hear a lot of theories from people. My goal has been to try to focus on an awareness campaign for law enforcement. I want people to understand that there's way more to this job of the services that we provide our community each and every day than, as we mentioned, arresting people and giving citations. I could show you right now statistically that the proactivity at our department is not necessarily writing a ticket. We told our officers to get out there right now. This is a challenging time, the most challenging time I have ever seen in my almost 29 years of law enforcement. This is a time to get out into the community, to be visible, to get out and check on people who are business owners, check on the kids that are out at the park right now. Let them see law enforcement for the role that we know that we play in helping people through challenging times. And it's a time to lift people up right now. I mean, if you've heard the stories of my homeless outreach team, look around any street in San Diego County and you'll see an increase in homelessness. And there are many challenges people are facing because of losing their jobs, as well as there are many people that aren't even, everyone's being let out of the jail system right now. And so the goal would be to have something functional for them to do so they can get back on track, get their life sustainable again. But oftentimes people are left out back onto the streets and they have no options. And that's where we end up having challenges in our community. So it's truly not about enforcement right now as much as it is about bringing people together and helping them through the challenges.
Your officers are very hands-on. And
Absolutely.
the South Bay has a high percentage of the coronavirus, doesn't it?
Yes. South Bay has the highest levels of the coronavirus. And I heard some statistics today based on the numbers that Dr. Wilma Wooten had put out in her last press conference, which was on Wednesday. There was discussion that the 65 and older category was at a higher level of COVID positive tests. And therefore, that's why that they should go forward, when in all actuality, based upon her numbers from our calculations, 12% of law enforcement has been COVID positive right now. And so what our concern is, compared to the 5% of 65 and older, and our concern is that we're going out to try to help people, and we could be actual spreaders right now, because a lot of these officers are very healthy. They're asymptomatic and they don't even know that they're COVID positive. So that's a concern that we have, as well as we certainly don't want to put anyone, we deal with a lot of the vulnerable population. The last thing we want to do is have to end up being in a situation where we've spread the coronavirus ourselves. So.
Well, and then the other thing, can you imagine officers taking the virus back to their families,
right?
Not knowing. I mean, it never stops, right?
Yeah, it's a complicated situation right now, that's for certain. And so we have so many safety measures in place at our police department. And I have to tell you, when last March, when everything shut down, we went through a real challenging time at the police department. First off, many people, and you saw it in the whole San Diego County, the streets were empty. Mm-hmm. It was an odd, weird feeling of trying to talk to my officers and tell them that this is a call to action. I need you right now. I need you to show up to work. I need you to be out there helping the community through these challenging times. And it has been a rough time for law enforcement. We had coronavirus started. We had shutdowns. We had people upset, angry. Then we had the George Floyd situation. I'll never forget that. And I saw, social outrage and civil unrest, and officers had to deal with that as well. And then we went back into coronavirus again. And so there's been a lot of challenges that law enforcement has faced this last year. And I want you to know that we have faced them head on. We have had an open conversation, open dialogue. We've worked really hard to connect with all aspects of our community, make sure that anyone who feels marginalized has an opportunity to sit down and come in and talk to us. And we've been able to have deep discussions that we've never had before. I'm very proud of Chula Vista Police Department and what we stand for, and how we've reacted to concerns in our community, and how we've tried to build partnerships and relationships and continue to improve. So it's been a really tough year, though, I have to say that.
Well, considering the challenges, you have definitely done a very good job, I think, in my opinion. And I hear a lot from a lot of people around the community, around the county. And your name always comes up very positive because of the way that the force is in Chula Vista. And that's the truth. That's what I'm hearing.
Well, I appreciate that.
Well, it's things we don't hear enough about these things. And so I know things are going to work out eventually. It seems like we're coming to getting some answers to this whole thing,
Right.
as well as for the teachers. So
Right.
here's something that I'd like to talk about also. So tell us a little bit about the foundation that you have.
Well, we have a Chula Vista Police Foundation. We have an executive director. Her name is Becky Cortez.
Great job.
And Becky's very, very well known in the community and has helped us tremendously. Our foundation supports our organization in ways where we don't have money through the general fund to do it. And I can tell you, you need to understand that if we had enough money to do all the things that we need to do in our community, keep our community safe, we would need probably close to another $6 million in our budget. It's very expensive to run a police organization. And so our police foundation, through wonderful people that have volunteered on our board of directors, they find ways to help us get the equipment and the training and the programs that we need that are so important for our community. Our foundation supports our senior volunteer program, our Explorer cadet program, our canine program. So all of our recent, I believe it's the last 5 or 6 dogs have all been purchased through our police foundation. They also support through equipment and training and our wellness program for our officers, our drone program, body-worn camera. They pay for all the tourniquets that every officer has with them in case they need to provide the medical treatment out in the field. And don't think I'm trying to infer we're doctors. We're certainly not doctors, but they provide a service to try to help until they can get the medical treatment. So the foundation is phenomenal. And this last year, we usually have that big Evening with Heroes event that is so wonderful. We didn't get to have it this last year because of COVID. We're hoping this year, and we picked a day that we think is very symbolic and very important to law enforcement and to our public safety heroes and firefighters. We're going to have our event at Easton Archery Center at the Chula Vista Elite Athlete Training Center on September 11th. So our hope is
very symbolic.
Yeah, I really hope that we'll be at a better point in our nation in terms of the pandemic, and that we'll be able to bring people together and celebrate what it means to have a community that is connected with their police department. And we're very proud of what we've been able to do with our police foundation. But thanks go to our board of directors and to our Becky Cortez, our executive director.
She's been phenomenal. So we have one of the number one, I say we, Chula Vista has the number one drone programs in the United States, doesn't it?
Yes, we, not just in the United States. This is where I'm going to brag a little bit, okay? We are internationally known. So we are the first agency in the United States that was selected to be in the integrated pilot program, working directly with the FAA to use technology for good. And so our drone program is called Drone as First Responder, and our drones respond to emergency calls for service. So as you hear people talk about the concerns with technology and data sharing and surveillance and all these things, they need to stop. This is not surveillance. These drones respond to these calls for service, and they provide our officers with real-time information. So every one of our cell phones, we can watch the drone when it lifts off and goes. We can make better informed decisions. The officers take that real-time information to determine, okay, where should I come from, the right side? Should I stay back? Is the person just potentially confused, upset, mentally ill? Do they need to de-escalate on their own? Is it better for law enforcement to stay back? Or does the person actually are they a threat to someone? Is there a weapon? And it will help them determine the best way to handle the situation. I call it the best de-escalation tool on the market. And we're keeping our fingers crossed. We're waiting for the FAA. We already have approval on many levels. We'll be bringing it to our council in the next couple weeks. But we should be able to go from 2 locations in Chula Vista, which gives us 33% coverage, to almost 100% coverage of our entire city. And this, I think that our community has been so supportive and we've worked with them. But I think people are kind of so used to drones with us, they don't even realize how amazing it is and what we're doing. But it is so important for public safety right now. It keeps the community safer, the subjects we encounter safer, and the officers safer.
I agree 100%. So with COVID, was this an opportunity to use the drone system and learn more about how effective it is? I mean, a lot of these things you already knew, but we've never been in a situation, a pandemic situation like this, where the streets were empty for a period of time. I would think the drones were very effective during that time.
They're effective all the time.
Okay.
With COVID, we were able to utilize them with the public health nurse that we have assigned to our homeless outreach team. We also have a psychiatric emergency response team clinician that works with our homeless outreach team. And then our homeless outreach team members, and we use Health and Human Services. They're like a resource manager that goes out. And they were trying to get to people who really were in need, who didn't have all the sanitation tools and food and different things. So our drone worked with those teams to go down, and we had not an officer, we had the public health nurse do some announcements, and we went down into the river bottom areas and the areas that were way out where people didn't have a lot of understanding or knowledge and about what was happening with COVID. And we were able to provide them education and resources and food and clothing and different things that way. So it was the drones have got us into areas where you might never be able to get to provide invaluable information. So, but we didn't use them to do, like you heard some agencies were using them for announcements, or they would determine, oh, this person was COVID positive. We chose not to be involved in any scenarios like that. We want to use our drones for significant emergency responses, for accidents, for traffic situations, to feed information, to make better informed decisions for law enforcement.
Well, again, I appreciate you updating us and giving us the importance of vaccinations for our police officers. And I'm losing my voice a little bit, so excuse me. But
I can talk for a long time. I think you've seen that. So
I don't think so. Everything.
What's important, as we all have the discussions about vaccinations, it's a choice, without a doubt. It's a personal choice. So there are some of our officers who choose to not have the vaccination. But I was really pleased when I was talking to our leaders here at the organization. 76% of Chula Vista law enforcement wanted the vaccine, and in many agencies across San Diego County, it was on average around 50 to 80%. And so I was impressed with that. I like to travel a lot. I lead medical mission trips all over the world.
Sure.
So to me, vaccinations are not a significant concern, and it's something that I will have to travel internationally. So it's an easy choice for me to make that decision. But for others, we would never want people to think that we're forcing anyone to have a vaccination. It's a personal choice.
Well, that's what I like about you. You've always been very fair about everything, very honest. I'm very honored to have this interview with you today, as always. You always educate us. What's a good website again for the foundation?
You just go to chulavistapolicefoundation.org. So okay. All together, one word, chulavistapolicefoundation.org.
And what's the website for the police department?
If you just punch in Chula Vista Police Department, it'll take you right there. It's okay. Pretty easy.
Okay. Chief Roxana Kennedy, thank you so much. God bless you for everything you do. And I'm glad that Chula Vista has you.
Well, thank you very much. It's such a pleasure, and appreciate all that you do for our community as well. So have a great day, and happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's to you too. I hope you get a lot of, do you like Godiva?
Thank you.
Okay, you take care.
And I love the King hat. I just want you to know.
Oh, thank you. He's a big supporter of the show.
Yes, he surely is. All right. Have a great day.
You take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
And speaking of King, I have to thank Attorney King for being a sponsor of my show. That's why we have electricity. I also like to thank Sequan Casino and Resort, Indian Motorcycle of San Diego, the Gym, George Jackson's The Gym, just opened in Chula Vista. Hopefully soon we'll be seeing George in Chula Vista working out. And Serrano's in Coronado. And last but not least, IB Fitness in Marina. Thank you very much. Everybody have a great weekend and happy Valentine's Day.